Hi everybody, welcome. We're back here again with our economics help videos. I think I gotta hold these up higher so you can see them. And we have a website now, econ, short for economics, econhelpvideos.com. And we're trying to create videos that will be helpful for introductory economics classes, introductory microeconomics and introductory macroeconomics. This series of videos are all about the demand and supply model, and they're going to be free out on our website, and you can decide if we're helpful for some of the difficult and the tough parts of the models involved in introductory econ. It can be a tough introductory course, right? But we're very much old school, low tech, on purpose, right? We're trying to do a lot of these things by hand. And it's our feeling that if you learn the models by hand before you go off and do some of the fancy technology stuff or some of the computer stuff, it's really going to stay with you and you'll be able to make an A or B in the class. And you know, even for other people not taking the course, it'll be very, very helpful for to rework through some of these models. Okay, sort of like when your math teacher said, we got to do some of this long division by hand before you put those calculators away, right? And literally, we're joking sometimes. We're so low tech, it's almost silly, right? When you see the videos, I put them on the presentation sheets by hand. I don't want to be fancy studio, you know, all this technology stuff. I want you to show you guys to learn this stuff, to do it by hand. You're going to have to get your copybook, write out the models, get with your book, get with these kinds of videos, and really work it through, okay? So we're trying to connect the old school to the do it by hands kind of thought. And we're doing it on purpose. Sorry to be so silly. Yeah. This video is going to be hopefully a quick one. It's just going to be video supply 01S. I'll explain the zero stuff later as we get through a whole bunch of these videos. And basically, it's going to connect in with this handout, which deals with the supply themes and concepts and definitions. I call it the supply definitions, okay? I'm going to move up closer to you so you could maybe, you know, somehow, some way this doesn't come through on the computer or the website. You could write down some of these notes. If you're taking the class for a formal course, these definitions will be in your textbook for sure, whatever textbook you use. I think this is about the right way. So literally, I'm going to read these definitions. Many of the, there's the list of them. Many of people making great strides in studying how education works find that listening is extremely, extremely helpful. And there's so many technology devices out there that I thought, well, when it comes to the 1S handout and video, even if you listen to these definitions, right, with me speaking them somewhere, somehow, on some kind of device, you know, the repetition is what makes you a great student, right? It makes you an A or B student. So maybe that'll be helpful for you, just to listen to them. Anyway, supply is a table or a curve displaying the amounts that producers and sellers are willing to offer for sale at each price in a list of possible prices per some specified time period. Okay, so that's a long definition, but each component of it's very important. Quantity supply values are the amounts that the producers and sellers will sell at each of the prices. Okay, so quantity supply is a short phrase that economists use for the longer phrase in the supply definition. A supply table or a supply schedule is a list of ordered pairs of price and quantity supply coordinates or values estimated by production engineers and managers and all kinds of other experts related to the marketplace, and sometimes just some really great experienced business people, right, that make the best decisions by the seat of their pants sometimes. A supply curve is a graphical illustration of the ordered pairs that are in the supply table. Okay, next up. The slope of the supply curve is positive. A supply curve is positively sloped. As we move from left to right, a supply curve will rise, right, displaying that positive slope. And what that means is that when price goes up, so will quantity supply. When we had demand, it was the opposite, right? For demand, so let me go slow here now. For demand, which is not up here, when price went up, the amount that we can buy, quantity demand, actually goes down, right? It makes logical sense. Well, why would the opposite be true for supply? When price goes up, quantity supply goes up. Producers want to offer more for sale. Price is something good on the supply side, right? That's their revenue per unit. The higher the revenue per unit, the more likely they can cover their costs and possibly make a better profit, right? So there's an incentive as the price rises. Producers want to produce in markets where prices are going up sometimes, right? Or maybe all the time. The law of supply, and then vice versa holds true. Let me excuse me before I go over that. If price goes down, quantity supply is going to go down too, okay? We'll talk about that in video 2S, a little bit more about the slope. The law of supply is the positive relationship between price and quantity supply. Again, price goes up, quantity supply goes up. Price goes down, quantity supply goes down. Now that can be a little bit confusing when it goes down, but that's a slope kind of thing, right? If price goes down, that's a negative change in the numerator. If quantity supply goes down, that's a negative change in the denominator. Remember in math, negative on the top of the fraction divided by negative on the bottom of the fraction flips it to being positive, right? They both go in the same direction. They're directly or positively related, right? Price and quantity supply. Okay. Now, a couple other phrases that'll be coming up in the next series of videos. A change in quantity supply is graphically illustrated by movement along the same demand curve. Change in quantity supply, change in quantity supply, 4 words, is graphically illustrated by movement along the same supply curve. Now this is a little bit crazy, but the words are so close. A 3-word phrase, a change in demand, a change in demand, I'm sorry, a change in supply, a change in supply, 3 words, is graphically illustrated by a shift of the entire supply curve to the right or to the left, depending on whether it's an increase or decrease, okay? So change in quantity supply, 4 words, is graphically illustrated by movement along the same supply curve. A change in supply, 3 words, is graphically illustrated by a shift of the entire supply curve. That can be extremely confusing for students, especially when you're doing multiple choice. So I make you guys draw this out by hand so that it stays with you, and you'll need to be able to draw some of it out even when you take multiple choice questions, okay? Now, Betsy's here, my great producer. She's so smart and such a great person. She works so hard. Thank you for being here, Betsy. Our other couple assistants are not here. Courtney is not here. She sometimes goes by Corsley, or father's nickname for her. Jake, our photographer, they're off doing a special, I'm so proud of them, aren't you, Betsy? We're doing some volunteer work, and we'll talk about that later. But I've got to get behind the camera right now because I'm going to go through and finish up some of the mechanical stuff. Okay, here we go. See if I can do this right. Jake's not going to be proud of me if I mess it up too much. All right, as we do this model, here are some of the symbols that we're going to use and what they mean. So you probably will have to pause this because I'm going to kind of go through it quickly. Oh, look at that there. There's our website there down below to our website address, the URL, Uniform Resource Locator. Okay, now when we do the graphs, a lot of what we're going to do is hands-on and apply the stuff. We're going to be in quadrant 1 of the Cartesian plane geometry space. And instead of y, we're going to do price on the vertical axis. And instead of x, we're going to do quantity on the horizontal axis. Now, apologizing for the too quick look at education here, you guys, for you guys that are education experts. But the first couple of steps, we recognize, memorize things, and then understand them. And then it's always a big jump to get to the application level. And econ is kind of like a science, a physics class maybe, or a calculus class, a math class, in that most of the course is at the application level, you know, the tough parts, the test question parts, right? And who would these videos be for? Obviously some introductory students in microeconomics or macroeconomics. I think it could be a great review for some moms and dads and professionals, or even if you majored in something else and never had econ, it could be new to you. And some of you moms and dads, they have some high schoolers or middle schoolers that are a little bit bored. They can figure out where they're going ahead. I literally, most of the stuff we're going to do, I use as possible test questions on this college class, so that can maybe get some of your good student high schoolers or middle schoolers, and if they're looking ahead a little bit. Speaking of looking ahead, there's an empty thing that we're going to do a graph for 2S, focusing mainly on a change in quantity supply, but that's the 4-word phrase. And then we'll do a little bit work on the slope. We'll come over here. We already did video 00S, the tough times bank graph. Literally, the 01S was just those definitions we very quickly did. And then look at the theme of the next few things, right? Change in quantity supply is not the same thing as a change in supply. That's so important. And then we do the basic determinants of supply in 03S. 04S, we do the change in supply graphs. Because if you change a basic determinant of supply, that causes a change in supply, the 3-word thing. Again, the tricky rule, change in supply, 3 words is not the same thing as a change in quantity supply. And this was just on our definition list there on 1S, but let's do it again. A change in quantity supply is graphically illustrated by a movement along the same supply curve. A change in supply, 3 words, is graphically illustrated by a shift of the entire supply curve. If it's an increase in supply, we shift right. If it's a decrease in supply, we shift left. Okay? Well, let's see if I can come back here. Jake's going to be so embarrassed. I keep messing up. But I wanted to thank you very much. This is a quick video. We're finding out technology-wise that, out on the internet, it's best if we shorten up the size of the videos and they'll transfer around a little bit better. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time for 2S, right? So supply video 2S. Thanks a lot. See you soon.